What's up, YouTube? I'm Brett from Rants. As always, with me on audio is my co-host Lance. Say hi, Lance.
Hey guys.
All right. So, as always, guys, if you enjoy our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave that comment down below. We're on the road to 1,000. We hope you guys will help us get there. All right. So today we're going to be doing Superman and Lois. I guess you could say I don't know if this would be considered an episode 1 or not. But
Yeah, I mean it is
yeah,
season one, episode one,
yeah. So I
pilot
mean,
episode. So yeah,
but this is going to be our review of it. It is overall. I mean, what did you think of it, Lance?
I thought it was pretty solid. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I really did, and it was more than I expected going into it.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of the way I felt towards it too. I kind of felt like I had an expectation that it was going to be kind of like every other CW show, and it didn't feel that way to me.
No, and it's not gonna, and that's
No.
that's due to the HBO Max DC contracts
Yeah.
that they've got. Everything's gonna look more. I don't know how to say adult.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not it has a completely different feel to it. It doesn't even feel like anything that I've seen on the CW. Really, to be honest with you, I know we had talked about this a little bit off screen, but there's a little bit of aspects to it that kind of does remind me of Smallville, like back in the day. But then it's more of a adult kind of version of Smallville, at least in my eyes. I mean, do you kind of get that vibe from it? I kind of see a little bit of that. I don't know if it's because they're bringing in the town of Smallville or what, but it just kind of has a way. I'm almost kind of wondering if they're going to maybe have some guest stars off Smallville, or I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
Um, you know, me and you kind of differ on some things with that
Mm-hmm.
because you said that it gave you the vibe of like a Netflix show or an
Yeah, it reminded
Amazon
me of a
show.
Netflix show, but it reminded me of a pre-Arrowverse CW.
Well, see,
To me.
and this is why I kind of disagree with what you're saying. There is like I felt like I didn't feel like it was really like that to me. I felt like it was more like Smallville was built for our generation when we were teenagers, and
Mm-hmm.
this was just built for our generation as adults. I don't.
Yeah, I
I
could see
just
that. I could see
that's how
that.
I took it. That's how I saw it.
See, and the reason why I say pre-Arrowverse is because it seemed like with everything when the Arrowverse come about, it seemed like every show was built to create a spinoff or to mix with another show, where Smallville was just there, to give you a good show. It wasn't trying to prepare you for the next show. It was just trying to, make
Well,
Superman the most interesting it can be for that specific
I think
show.
I think I think yes and no. I think that at the towards the end of Smallville, there they were trying to gear up for a
Oh, no
Justice League
doubt.
spinoff.
Yeah,
It
no
just
doubt on
never
that.
happened.
Yeah.
And
But
so I just kind of feel like Smallville. Don't get me wrong, I love Smallville. I was a huge Smallville fan,
mm-hmm.
but to me, it was just Arrowverse before it was called Arrowverse.
Yeah, well, I agree and then disagree to a certain extent. I always felt like Smallville had a kind of a different feel. I kind of felt like Smallville on its own was a pretty legit show. I almost kind of felt towards Smallville like I felt towards Supernatural. Even though I didn't enjoy it as much as Supernatural, I kind of felt like Supernatural was it's a show that yeah, it could be on any network and still worked in the fashion that it worked in. Where I feel like if you put The Flash or Arrow or any of those on, let's just say HBO Max, I don't feel like they work quite as well because I feel like they're geared towards the CW audience more than what they would be geared towards, a more mainstream, more
Well,
adult audience in
unless
that
they
way.
were to unless they were to put a show like let's take Arrow for example because I'm
Mm-hmm.
more familiar with that. But
Mm-hmm.
let's say they take that show and they make it just on HBO Max. I'm talking about not CW.
Yeah.
They could make that show great. Like it
Yeah.
could
Oh,
be
they could.
a great show. But yeah, I do agree with you about Arrowverse shows were geared towards CW, which is rightfully so, because that's the network they were on
Yeah,
at the time. They didn't have all these streaming services and stuff to partner up with to
yeah.
kind of make their show a little more edgy. But I feel like Arrow was dark enough for me that I didn't get the feel that it was a kid show or a teenager show.
I think the I think the
Where with
first
Flash, I didn't feel that way. You know.
I think the first season of Arrow, I would probably actually agree with you on. I think later
Well,
on it kind of got like
the
everything else though.
I would say for me personally, as a fan, it was like the first three seasons, and then once they got to like season four, is when
Yeah,
it really started kind of. Not that the show started getting bad, it just really started turning towards that. And I
yeah,
think that also was a part of them trying to do the Flash spinoff the way they did it. They had
yeah.
to try to match Arrow to how they were doing Flash, and that's when Arrow got so messed up.
Oh man, I hate it. If there's one thing that I hate about the Arrowverse, it's all these mixing and mingling with,
Other shows. Yeah,
combining
we've
the
talked about
shows.
that. We've talked about that in multiple videos. I
Yeah.
hated That's when I got out of even. See, I started with Arrow,
Hmm.
and when I got out of Arrow was when I had to watch every episode of Flash to
Yeah.
understand what was going on with Arrow, and then I had to watch every episode of Supergirl, and that's when I completely was like, you know what? I'm not watching Arrowverse no more.
Mine was when they got. I didn't mind it so much when it was Arrow and Flash. It's when it got to be Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and I'm like, can't take
Yeah.
this. I don't.
No.
I don't know
Now,
anything that's going
yeah,
on. I'm
you will
not
bring
keeping
up
up with all
Legends of
this shit.
Tomorrow. I couldn't get past the second episode of Legends of Tomorrow. Every time I tried to watch that show, I just went to sleep.
I made it through like the
That
first two
show
or
was,
three seasons of it.
oh no.
There was so many things. I felt like it was the worst characters of all those shows, and then you combine them on the show.
I don't
Is
even
the
know
way
if
it
you could
felt to
have.
me.
I don't know if you could even have paid me to watch a full season of Legends of Tomorrow.
Like I was upset because those two guys weren't on Prison Break anymore. Like I was like, that was a better show. Put them back
Now,
on that instead of that.
Prison Break. That was my show.
Yeah, that was actually a really legit
I
show.
did not enjoy now I love Prison Break, but I did not enjoy when they tried to do the like Prison Break reunion
I
season.
don't think
That was
anybody
garbage.
did.
That was garbage.
Yeah.
But you know,
But I mean, overall, I mean, even back on the Superman and Lois, does it feel like this is a show that you're going to be interested
oh,
in? Is this
I'm
exciting? Are you
already
excited about it?
I'm already ready for the next episode. So
Well, what do you think
I
what do you think they can? What do you think they could maybe expound upon more or do less of?
well, I think the one thing that I think that they should focus on more is evident that they will is what's going to go on between the boys,
Yeah,
sons, like,
yeah,
and obviously that they're gearing towards that. So I think they're on the right path as long as they don't pull like a Walker and decide to be like, oh, we told y'all about this last
yeah,
episode, but
yeah.
this
I know.
episode we're going to completely get away from that and only talk about Lana Lane.
Yeah, yes, they win. I know we have talked about this even off camera. We when I first started watching this show, and I was like, Jordan and John Kent, I dread their characters because I was worried that it was going to be kind of like, a
Still in
Walker thing
August.
where the kids are so flippin' annoying. And it was polar opposite. I actually thought both John and Jordan did great jobs
Now, one
on
thing
that.
that I do think that is great about this show is it focuses more on his home life than
Yeah.
it does I'm gonna go fight Lex Luthor or General Zod
Yeah.
or it's more about him being a parent than anything else, and I do kind of enjoy that, and that might be just because we're parents now.
Mm-hmm.
And so
With this,
we can kind of relate to that side of it a little bit more than just going out and fighting
Yeah.
crime.
You bring up a very good point about that because do you think that this is a show when you were 20 or 15 or something you would have been able to get into? Or do you think
Probably,
it's because now because
I
we're
highly
older you're
doubt
able to
it.
get into it?
I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that. Let's say, they did this when we were in high school.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been like whatever, parents are douchebags for lying to their kids, because we were kids ourselves at that point. But now we're older, we have kids, and we can kind of see, well, they kind of have to try to protect their kids as long as possible.
Yeah.
Like,
Let's see, my
so,
kid.
so I don't think so, because like it's like what you were saying about Jensen, and it would be the same thing with Stevie. He'd be like, okay, I don't care about this. I want to see some Superman. Like,
I actually
wearing glasses, like.
Yeah, I actually watched this.
So.
I actually watched this with my son, and my son. Very first thing that come out of his mouth was every time Superman would go off screen and go back to his normal life. He's like, "When's he gonna become Superman? I want to see him in his suit. I want to see him in his suit."
Now,
and he was.
I will say this. I will say this about the show. When he first showed up as Superman, like at the beginning, I was like, "What is he wearing?"
It was a horrible costume. Like,
and
that
kid was like,
horrendous.
The kid was like, "I like your suit," and he's like, "Thanks, my mom made it."
And it looked that way.
It exactly. Looked like. And so I was like, please do not let this be the suit for the whole show.
No,
when he came back later in his suit at the nuclear plant or whatever, I was like, okay, thank goodness.
Yeah, that suit actually looks pretty good. I actually really loved that scene with the nuclear plant. I thought that was a really cool scene. Really got to explore, his powers a little bit. I loved everything about that scene, to be honest with you. I thought that was I don't know. It was so brilliant.
Now, I did think that there could have been
a superhero movie.
I did kind of feel like there could have been a better way to prove to your kids that you were Superman besides picking up your truck.
Actually,
I was like, why didn't he just like burn the field with his laser vision or like anything?
I actually didn't enjoy that moment of it. I felt like he was like, oh well, hey guys, I'm from another planet, I'm blah 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 this, and let me pick up a truck, and I was like, well, that's a little bit step too far. Like, I just kind of felt like
now. And another thing that this has always bothered me with every version of Superman you can ever imagine is the kid his son Jordan's like, we've seen Superman, and take his glasses off, give me a break. That's the only thing that keeps you from knowing who Superman really is a pair of glasses. That always bugged me, but that's just part of the lore. That's part of it. You just gotta kind of accept that.
It's like we talk about our kids a lot on here too. I wear glasses. A lot of y'all, if y'all watch Rants or Us, y'all know that I usually have glasses on. I also wear contacts. But the first time my kid saw me without contacts, he wasn't like, "Who are you?" Like, he obviously recognized his own father. I didn't get that. I was like, these kids are stupid. Because I'm like, how did you not realize that?
But that has bugged me forever. Like, even with like reading the comic books as a kid, you're like, give me a break. Like
I know. I kind of feel like, I guess that's the reason why.
He puts on a suit and glasses, and all of a sudden you can't. It kind of always made sense to me with Batman. Without Batman's bat suit, you obviously can't tell Bruce Wayne is Batman. Yeah. But Superman is just glasses. That's it.
I feel like
that's just always been a little silly thing to me, but that's neither here nor there because that's just how it is.
I feel like it's because we've watched enough CSI shows, FBI shows now that we kind of...
No, because you don't have to be an investigator to be like...
you don't, but the technology...
If you put glasses on this guy...
Yeah.
If you put glasses on this guy, it's a serial killer.
I know. But I mean, the technology, we see some, we know that we've got the technology now that, hey, you see a picture of this guy and they can tell you who that guy is immediately. Like,
I just feel like,
and
I've always wished this. I just wish there was a better way to hide your identity than put on a pair of glasses.
There's a reason why other people have costumes that cover their faces. And it's because of this very reason. Like, I almost kind of feel like if you're going to do that, like, just put...
So I felt like that was just like I felt like that was just like a silly thing. You're trying to make
Yeah.
this version of Superman more realistic, and so I felt like that was just a silly line to put in there. That, oh no, we've seen Superman. Like, come on, man.
Well, what did you think of Tyler Hoechlin's Superman in general? Like, do you like him more than,
At this point,
Cavill's
I do.
Superman?
At this point, I do, but like I said, off camera, I want to see a few more episodes
Yes.
before I definitively make that statement. Like,
Yeah. I agree with
so,
you on
at
that
this
one.
point, I do like him better. I really like that actor, but I need to see more of him as Clark Kent slash Superman before I can be like, oh, he's the greatest Superman I've ever seen.
See, as much as I liked him, I hated her. I hated Lois. I didn't like her mannerism. I didn't like, her look. I mean, very first thing she kind of gets a
I
snappy thing,
really
and the
think
rest of
that
the time she
she's
don't remind me of Lois. Do what?
I really think that she's gonna be one of those characters that kind of grows on you.
I could see
Now,
that.
I like her better as Lois than that Adams woman that they used in Man of Steel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I mean,
I did not get Lois Lane from her at all.
no, I didn't get that either. But Lois Lane. I'll tell you, the best Lois Lane was the one off Smallville for me.
Well, yeah, I was
I
just to
thought,
say I think one of the reasons we don't like her as Lois Lane is because we got spoiled by Erica Durance.
yeah, yeah. I mean, she actually she fit that role perfectly. Attitude, look, everything. I thought she was perfect in that role. I feel like this Lois Lane just comes off as really passive, not aggressive in any way. Not like the Lois Lane that we've known in the comic books, which is very
But that
odd.
could
Or the shows, I mean, too.
that could even go towards the this is an older Lois Lane, so she's kind of matured a
Well,
little bit.
true.
So she's not as smart alecky, she's not as
Yeah.
out there. She's a mom. She's gotta be responsible. So
And you
I
know
mean
what?
that could be part of that.
You know what? That's actually a very good point because we've actually never seen this version of Lois Lane
Right.
before. We've only seen
And
the Lois Lane where she
now
didn't have kids.
something that did like it didn't bother me, but it was just different was the relationship between Clark Kent and General Lane because I always
Yeah,
seen it where General Lane just couldn't stand it.
yeah,
Like
yeah. He
he didn't
usually
want nothing
plays
to
kind
do
of like
with
a villainous
you
role
know.
in it.
And in this part, they like get along even more so than General Lane and Lois do.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of seemed
And so
that way.
I
It
was
was
kind of
kind of
like
like,
that was a little weird, but
yeah, it kind of seemed like when General Lane's talking to his daughter, it just kind of seemed like he's like, "Oh, you're here too." Like that's the way it
And then
kind of looked.
he was like, I understand you fell in love with Clark
Hmm.
Kent, but you married Superman. Look here, dude. You just get out of a marriage. Like,
I would be, but if you look at it this way, Lois
I get
Lane
what he's
is,
saying. I get his point. I get his point. Like, the world needs Superman. You
yeah,
can't keep telling him he can't go and do this because y'all have a family now.
yeah.
I get his side of it too. It's just
Like
at the
literally
same
every
time, I'm
death that
like,
happens that night is because of her. Period. Like I mean,
yeah, because she's like, you're not going in. Clark's just like, yes, ma'am.
yeah, I know. I mean, so like, if you when he said those words, I was like, oh man, that just completely ruined a part for me because I was like, now every time that they get into like a fight and she like causes them to not be Superman, I'm gonna be thinking anybody that died that night is like on like that's blood on her hands.
That's on your conscience, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Definitely on your conscience at least.
yeah,
But
it's
no,
like
I really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited for the next episode.
yeah.
I just wish I didn't have to wait a week.
Well, I mean, what did you think? You enjoyed the kids though, like you did think that they did a pretty good
I
job
did
though.
enjoy the kids. Like, I got so many different vibes. At the very beginning, I liked what are their names? I forgot. Jordan.
John
I like
and
Jordan.
Jordan.
Yeah, I like Jordan. I kind of thought Jonathan was a douchebag, but then like as you see that he just likes to mess with his brother. But
Hmm.
if anybody else does, he's gonna step in.
I felt like
So
he was a
I did enjoy that part of it, but then it's like now at this point you're like, why are you stepping in to defend your brother? He don't need you to fight his battles. Like,
no. I kind of felt like I enjoyed
now
both of them actually.
I do think they could have camouflaged which one of them was going to actually have the powers a little bit better than what they
Yeah.
did, because I knew right off the bat, like. I knew as
Yeah.
soon as they said he had an anxiety disorder. I'm like, it's probably because he's starting to get powers and he doesn't realize it.
Yeah, and they
You
even
know.
kind of mentioned something kind of like that too. I mean, it's like where he's talking
And
about. He's
so it
like,
was just like
is this because
it
of
was
my
just real
powers and
silly to
stuff?
me.
But then at the same time, I'm like, how can it be your powers that's coming out? Like, what does that have to do with your
And then I
anxiety?
was like,
Like,
how okay, and then well, because stuff's
you feel
changing and you're
different?
freaking out, so you start, well, yeah, like your body's
Yeah.
like there's something going on with your body and you don't realize what it is, so it becomes anxiety.
I
I
thought
got that
they,
vibe.
I thought they both played really good roles. I actually enjoyed
But
even that
now
Sarah Cushing too.
I'm kind of like, okay. And then another thing, when the pipe collapses on them in the barn,
Hmm.
and Clark's in there throwing the pipes off of them, and it's clearly which brother took the blunt of the damage, and they
Hmm.
still think it's the other guy. Like,
Yeah, I
I'm like,
know.
y'all, you can't use, you have X-ray vision, but you can't use your eyes.
I kind of almost thought that
Like,
Superman's excuse for not telling his kids that he's Superman was kind of lame. I saw it to a certain extent, but the more I got to thinking about it, I'm like, wow, you're playing a dangerous game when you're doing something like that. Like, I mean, how did
you
you
are, but
even
I
make it as
understand
far
it.
as what you
Like,
did?
yeah, I do understand why he didn't want to tell him. Like, you slip up and say something to, like,
Yeah.
you get a crush on a girl, and so you reveal my secret to her, and then she tells somebody, and now the whole world knows.
But I
All
mean,
my
as long
enemies
as he
come
don't take
after
his,
us.
as long as they tell him
They
not to take
find
his,
out I have kids.
yeah, as long as they tell him not to take
You
his
know.
glasses off, he's good though. I mean, that's
Well,
what.
if
But
you find out, like, let's say you're Lex Luthor and you find out that Superman has kids, the first thing
hmm
you're going to do is go after these kids.
and it's
And so
like,
I understand why he's like, no, I can't let this happen. But now I have a little thing I want to say is I surely hope that now that they realize that his son has these powers and that's what's been causing his anxiety, that
hmm
they'll make him or not make him take medication for it anymore and just teach him how to control his powers. Then he'll be good.
it could be, or I wonder if that's actually a good question. I wonder if they're gonna somehow maybe tie that into it. Me personally, I kind of wish they would just kind of leave it as is because I feel like it gives depth to that character. That he's facing a real world issue, and I kind of like seeing the
Yeah, it
struggle
does
that they had
kind
to
of.
deal with that.
Now, I will agree with you on that. It does show that, yeah, you might be Superman, but you still have
Yeah, you got some.
a humanity
Yeah,
side to you. You still have to face real life problems. You might
yeah,
be able to save the world from all theirs, but you still have to learn how to deal with yours. So I get what you're
yeah.
saying there.
I mean, I could see it going really either way. I mean, I could see, and I'd be
But I
cool with
mean,
it
like,
either way.
okay, I mean, this goes back to kind of like comparing it to Smallville to an extent, but I mean, it was kind of silly that they didn't realize that he was the one with powers, because when Clark Kent started getting all his like laser vision and
Hmm.
X-ray vision, he was having all these bad headaches and blacking out. Okay, so maybe
Yeah,
that's what's been going on. I don't know.
it could very well be. Well, I mean, I guess the thing that's on my mind the most, and it was something that I did not enjoy. I didn't really enjoy the fight scenes quite as much as what I thought I was. Even though they
Well,
did look good, they look really, they look really nice.
I thought the high school fight scene was more exciting than the Superman versus Lex Luthor
I
fight scene.
actually did too, and I don't understand this Lex Luthor. He said he's from a different planet. Like that doesn't make sense to me. In no version that I
Well,
know of
see,
is he of that.
I didn't. Did he say planet
I
or
think
did he
I
say
think he
different? I
said
thought he
planet
said a different world.
or different
So that
world.
could go. that could go
Oh, I see
metaphorically as
what you
well
mean. I see
too.
what you mean. Another dimension or something like that.
Or even no, even like say he is from Earth,
Yeah.
but when you became Superman, you destroyed my life. Like you destroyed my world.
Yeah. It could be that too,
It
you
could be
know.
more metaphorically than literally. I don't know for that for a fact. They might be completely changing it, and if they do that, I'm gonna have an issue because at least stick to the comic lore.
But I mean, it could be actually both. Now that I think about it, is he could just like in the Flash, they go through
Like you
all
said,
these
he
different
could be.
dimensions and things, and it could
Well,
be it could be what he's talking about.
yeah, and in everything comic wise, we deal with multiverse, and he
Yeah, that
could be a Lex
multiverse.
Luthor from a different multiverse.
Yeah, and so I could see that kind of going in
So it
that
could be that
direction.
way, or it could be just like if they use part of the Smallville lore, when Clark come to Smallville, maybe he caused Lex Luthor to lose his hair and go, "Oh, whatever happened to Lex Luthor?"
Could very well be. I mean, I'm
We
curious.
don't. At this point, there's so many questions at this point because it's a pilot
Yeah,
episode. So
I'm curious to see. I want more in depth on Luther. I want to see what kind of Luther he is. Is he, because I tell you the one from Batman v Superman was horrible. Just
well, yeah, I
horrible.
thought that
Uh,
Jesse Eisenberg or
yeah,
whatever his name was.
Eisenberg or
Yeah,
whatever his name is.
I did not like that choice for Lex Luthor, and I
Anything
just
is better than that
than
guy.
that.
Anyone is better.
Now I will
Anyone.
say this. I will say this. I've watched a lot of Superman.
Mhm.
I've read a lot of the comic books.
Mhm.
I have a few in the house right now, but my favorite Lex Luthor of all time was the one from Smallville.
Actually, what was his name? Rosenbaum or something like that in real
Yeah,
life.
Michael
Michael
Rosenbaum.
Rosenbaum. He is a really good actor, and yes, I will actually agree with you. I
He's
mean,
a he,
he's a really
he
great
he's a really good
Lex Luthor.
actor, but he always had minor roles until Smallville. That role
Hmm.
right there, like that's good enough for a career.
Yeah,
Like I'm
Lex. I
done.
mean,
Like
there's no doubt in my mind he played the best Lex Luthor that I've seen.
dude,
Um,
if they had gotten anybody else to play Lex Luthor on Smallville, that show would not have made it as long. I
I know
don't
this is
think
going to sound a little silly, but my comparison with Lex Luthor always go back. You remember that old Superman and Batman cartoon that we grew up on? You know what I'm
hmm
talking about? It was on the WB actually.
Yeah,
Back in the day.
I
That
watched
I
the
like.
animated series of both of those
Yeah,
just the other day on HBO Max.
I
So
like that version of Lex Luthor. So when
mhm.
you're talking about, so to me, I always compare the one from Smallville to that one, and try to decide, well, which one do I like better between
But
those two.
I do think the Lex Luthor on this show is going to be really good. Like I think he's going to be
Mm-hmm.
he's mysterious enough to keep you wondering. Like, and I
He
know I recognize his voice, and I can't put a picture to it.
his name's Wally Parks. I know I'm probably mispronouncing that name or butchering it, something terrible, but I think his name's Wally Parks or something along those lines. I don't know if I've seen him in anything. I'll have to do a little bit more research over it. But I like how he's
I know
one
I've at
step
least
ahead of Superman.
well,
I,
yeah, and
I really like that.
like I said, I know even if I haven't seen him in anything,
Hmm.
I know I recognize his voice. What'd you say his name was?
I think it's Wally Parks, if I'm not mistaken, is who they've got for this role. I think. I think it's his name. Um, but overall, I mean, I enjoyed this show. I would give it, to be honest with you, I would give this episode a 9 out of 10 easily. Easily. What would you?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm surprised you did, but I was gonna say 9.5.
Yeah, I mean, it's high up there. I almost want to give it a perfect grade, but there was some things that I did not like about it that will cause me not to give it a perfect grade. I kind of like, I thought Tyler Hoechlin did a great job, but there was, that one scene where he's explaining all that to his kids. I felt like that was kind of lame. I thought his mom putting the Wi-Fi or whatever up in that one area that no one could get it was really stupid. Like I thought that was dumb. But overall, I mean, I think it was almost about as near perfect as it could get. And I'll tell you, I really enjoyed the Lana Lang that plays on it. Like I said, I hated Lois Lane on it. But maybe she'll
Yeah,
grow on me. I don't know.
I'm not big on Lana Lang on this either. I didn't like her in Smallville, but I really don't like her in this either.
I think this one is a better version of Lana Lang to me than Smallville. Smallville, she would kind of get a little annoying to me at times. Like I liked her at first few seasons of it, but then she just started. She didn't grow on me right when in Smallville. I'm hoping this one will be one that can continue to progress and maybe add some depth where that I feel like the one on Smallville just kind of stayed the exact same throughout. Really didn't get that much more interesting than what she did from the very beginning to end. But overall, I mean, I have a few bad things to say about this. I am really excited about Superman and Lois. It exceeded
I
my
really
expectations
like
by
I
far.
said, I don't really have
Hmm.
much bad to say about it at all. Like,
Yeah, I don't either.
uh, I just I could nitpick if I really wanted to,
Mm.
but it's just based on, like I said, the little things that I was like, that didn't make sense. It's just because of either like Smallville or it's something that's never made sense to me about Superman, like the whole put
Yeah.
glasses on him, we don't know who he is thing.
Oh,
But other than
that
that,
was ridiculous. Yeah, that was.
I don't have any complaints. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait for the next
I didn't, and
episode. I'm gonna go out and give it a 9.5 out of 10. Honestly.
I'll go ahead and give it a 9 out of 10 since I feel like it's there was some moments that were just like really stupid. I felt like
I guess the reason
everybody.
I'm rating it so high is I don't have a lot of cringe moments like I do with a
No,
lot of shows,
I didn't get
So
any cringe moments in this show, and that is very odd. I mean, I'll be watching, like a show like Walker, and don't get me wrong, I like Walker to a certain extent, but I won't go through the first 5 moments without getting those cringe moments. It's like cringe moment, a few minutes later, cringe moment. It's like those kind of things, but it's got so bad that I expect those cringe moments. Where with this show, I was expecting it, but I never got it, and so I'm really
yeah,
excited. I'm really excited about the next episode.
you know
I think I'm hooked
when
on
I
it.
first heard this show, when I first heard this show was coming out, I was like, oh man, whatever, I'll give it a shot,
Yeah, kind of the way I was
But
with
I,
WandaVision too. You know.
yeah, but like this got me from the very pilot season. I'm like, this is gonna be a good show, I think.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
with WandaVision, it did take me a couple episodes, but
I'm telling you, I think this show is going to be uh, an amazing show for years and years to come. I think
now
we're
I will
seeing
say
the
this:
beginning
it's
of
hard to
something
tell.
beautiful.
Okay, it's hard for me to tell that from the pilot,
Hmm.
but I will say that I do honestly believe that if it was just CW, they didn't have this stuff. DC didn't have this with HBO Max,
Hmm.
the show would suck.
Could be. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would probably actually agree with you on that. I feel like the budget and everything else is that much better. I feel like this
Oh
is
yeah,
a
because HBO's bankrolling it.
yeah. I
Like
kind of feel like this is a show that you could show on any network, not just CW, and it work. It
I don't
as
know. I don't know about that because I really think that if it wasn't for HBO Max, it wouldn't be as great.
no,
So
I'm talking about like it. it's like if you put the Flash or the Arrow on, let's say HBO Max. I don't think it would work, but I feel like this show actually would work.
I don't know. I think I think
HBO
that
Max.
I think I disagree with you on that one. But,
Yeah. See, I always kind of feel like those shows are really campy and kind of cheesy in a lot of different ways.
But that's because they're built for CW.
They're built for that specific audience.
If they were built for a network like HBO Max, I think they would be a lot better. Yeah. So I can't really.
But I will also say, I feel like if I was a younger version of myself, I wouldn't enjoy this show quite as much.
Absolutely not. I don't think so at all. I don't think I would.
Because when I was seeing my son's reaction to things, I was like, that's how I would have been 10 years ago. Like, I would have been stop with all the drama at home and get to the action.
Honestly, let's say I'm 16, 17 years old, and I'm watching this show. I'm like, I'm going to turn this off, play a video game or something.
Yeah, I know. I would have felt that way, too, with it.
I do agree with you on that part of it. I do agree with you on that.
But overall, guys, let us know what y'all think down below in the comment section because, we're curious to see what y'all's take on this. Overall, I think both of us really enjoyed it. And, I know I'm speaking for both of us, but I think we're both looking forward to the next episode. Am I right about that?
Absolutely.
All right, guys.
I wish I didn't have to wait a week, but
I know. Same here. But as always, guys, thank y'all so much for watching, and y'all take.